this is what I mean, not to come at either y'all, about how it just like y'all speaking over each other. It's like y'all talking after each other. You're not talking with each other. Y'all talking past each other. And this is what I mean. Anything you say, he just won't accept. It's no common ground. It might not just fit with what he feel God is. So he's challenging your position, and he just won't accept it, and he's rebellion to it. So whatever you say is just gonna be questioned and challenged because it doesn't hold to his position. Is it worth speaking to someone like this on either side, or y'all just like hearing yourself, or y'all just like hearing yourself speak?
Well, see, when I hear things, I'm curious as to explaining how that is. Like when he says, reality is conscious. So what makes the world in which I live in a conscious entity? Like what makes it something that can make decisions, think for itself? I don't comprehend that at all.
But you didn't get the first part, which is the world in which you live is not the universal existence. The world in which you live is a particular that exemplifies existence, which is a reality that's distinct from it. So the world derives its reality, right? It derives its existence from the universal existence. And that's why you need to understand this like metaphysics of the universal and the particular in order to understand the claim that's being made. Because it's not a claim about like pantheism. That's not what the claim is. And it's also weird that this is what Catholics believe, this is what Orthodox believe, this is what, to the extent that you're going to be with the mainstream tradition in Islam, that's what you believe. This is classical theism. And yet most atheists couldn't even define it.
Could define classical theism, is what you're saying?
Right.
I think I have a grasp of classical theism. But what is that relevant to my understanding of what existence is and reality, right?
Because you totally misinterpreted the claim, because the claim I was making was the classical theistic claim. So I don't think you know what it is, even though you think you do. You know, thinking yourself to be wise, you become a fool.
Okay, I like these colorful words you're using from biblical quotes. Cool, awesome. Why does that make me a fool when I just ask you to explain how existence is conscious?
Well, no, you asked me how the world you live in is conscious, which showed that you didn't understand the claim that the universal existence, capital B being itself, which is something that's distinct from any particular that exemplifies existence.
So elaborate on being itself being conscious.
Yeah, what do you want to know about it?
Okay. I understand in order for something to be conscious, usually say something of the biological nature, like us and other animals like us that have a brain that elicits things that can tell us that it is conscious, right? So help me understand how being, aside from other animals like us being, are conscious.
Yeah, first of all, I don't think that first consciousness presupposes that there's any biological substrate. And it's a problem in the philosophy of mind that it actually just does intuitively seem like a category mistake to say that consciousness just refers to a particular arrangement of inert matter. So it feels like consciousness, if there's a substance to consciousness, the what its likeness of experience is not something that's reducible to or fully explained by the arrangement of physical matter. It's something that can come to be associated with contingently physical matter, but isn't constituted by physical matter. It's something over and above the material, which is a threat to atheism. And I mean, there's lots of different ways to see this. You know, some are just theoretical, some are empirical. So like a theoretical way to see it is like the zombies argument, right? Which is just the conceivability that you could have a biological organism that all the functional behaviors that it exhibited were exactly the same as the ones that you or I exhibit. But there were no lights on, that there was nothing that it was like to be it. There were no first personal facts. There were only third personal facts about it. And so that it's a further fact that's not specified by the third personal facts, whether there's anything it's like to be it, whether the lights are on. And that's a very strong intuition that people hold. In fact, there's evidence, anthropological evidence, that children are innately and instinctively mind-body dualists. So we're intuitive mind-body dualists, and you have to be acculturated, you have to learn from society to deny that non-reflective, pre-theoretic intuition that we have. And it's something that's actually like such a counterintuitive concept that it's hard for people to believe in practice that that's true. And so this idea that you couldn't have a material mind totally contradicts the way that most people intuitively think about consciousness.
Can you demonstrate something that has qualities of mind, being conscious, without a biological brain?
Well, I was just giving you an argument for why we should think that even our consciousness doesn't consist in having a brain. Now, I can give you evidence where people report being conscious and that doesn't seem to be related to their brain activity. So, for instance, near-death experiences. Tens of thousands of well-documented cases.
Let me stop you right there, because you're demonstrating examples of people that have brains, right? So I'm wanting to hear something.
No, but their consciousness seems like it's divorced from their brain activity. If you looked at it like an electroencephalogram, their EEG activity, there's no neural activity happening in their brain at all, yet they're having lucid, highly organized, they report it as super normal conscious experience. Sometimes they have out-of-body experiences.
There's still a brain, right?
No, it's not. That's what I'm saying, is the consciousness is not associated with the brain activity.
Ethan, there's still a brain.
No, they're not. I'm denying that. Prove that. That's your assumption. Prove it.
Tell me that person that is being tested and studied does not have a brain. They do have a brain, right?
No, but the consciousness is not explained by the brain activity.
So,
that consciousness is not explained by the brain activity. Prove that it is. Prove that it is.
Ethan, there's still an organ called a brain involved, right? So
no, it's not involved in the consciousness.
Let me get my point across, you babbling idiot, right? Let me get my point across. That still has a brain. I want you to give me something that has consciousness without something called a brain. That's what I want.
Or even a physical substrate, Ethan.
You said that there could be consciousness without material. Demonstrate that.
No. Here's the things that So first is, I can show you from the concept of consciousness that it could never be constituted by material. So whatever consciousness is, it has its existence independently of the material. You didn't respond to or refute that argument. So even if you were to prove that consciousness, in our case, in the cases we can observe, is associated with the material, you wouldn't prove that it was constituted by or reducible to the material, and you've yet to respond to the argument that basically it couldn't possibly be.
I hear that part in your long-winded explanation, right?
Okay, well, you should pay more attention rather than screaming.
Okay.
So try to keep up. Try to maybe study a bit more, read a bit more, but also listen to people when they actually try to talk to you and teach you things.
Okay.
But then the second thing that you failed to understand was that the point is that if you're going to say that the consciousness is explained by the brain activity, then how could you have supernormal consciousness with no brain activity?
What is supernormal consciousness? Now you're throwing
the person is reporting. It's an operational term that's used in the medical literature about in consciousness studies, which is that a more vivacious and intense self-perception of consciousness than is experienced during ordinary waking consciousness.
And these people have brains, right?
But there's no brain activity associated with their consciousness at that time.
There's still a brain, though. That's my point.
No, they're not a brain. You're saying they're claiming they're identical to a brain.
If it's a human being,
that's what I'm denying. They're a soul.
In nature, it has a brain.
No. But that's the thing. That's your assumption. That's your assumption. But you haven't evidenced that assumption, and all the evidence that I'm pointing to contradicts the assumption.
It is effectively true that there's a human being that has a brain going through these procedures.
No, but here's the thing you don't understand. Is you're
assuming that
what
you call it
supernormal?
Is that what you said? Supernormal?
Yes.
That's a medical term I can find, supernormal brain activity?
You can just go look Jeffrey Wong, near-death experiences, evidence for their reality, and you can
Supernormal
find all the evidence for it. But yeah, the guy is just completely failing to track. The claim is that you are not identical to your brain. Your awareness, when you're ensouled, is confined to your brain, so your awareness is of your brain, but you are not identical to the brain. And what we're providing evidence of is that your soul can become disassociated from your brain. So the dissociation of the soul from the brain. And what would be able to evidence that? If all the correlates of consciousness during normal waking consciousness were absent, and yet supernormal consciousness were present. And that's exactly what we have evidence of in the near-death experiences cases.
So now you threw in a soul.
Yeah, that's funny. Yeah.
Where did the soul come from?
And just so you guys are aware, supernormal brain activity, as I found it, is referring to to when you're an aged person, someone who's older, and actually just has a stronger functioning brain than is normally associated.
No, but you looked at the wrong thing. It's supernormal consciousness, not supernormal brain activity.
Okay, it's supernormal consciousness.
Yeah, and just look at the article that I referred you to. The
I
General
want
article.
to just find out what that stuff
medical
is.
literature
If
that I'm
it's
referring
in
to.
place, then I should be able to find it easily, right?
Yeah, you would be able to, but I'm just telling you where you can find the operational definition from a medical doctor in a medical journal, just so you can see it, and used in exactly the context in which I'm using it.
I've got a follow-up question.
Hold on, guys. Hold on. There's some new people on stage. Y'all can just jump in. Hopefully, I have self-control to allow these people to speak. I really don't be controlling y'all. But I just hold on, Brett. I got you. I just want to be fair to the people I seen come on stage first. Violet, do you want to say something to the title or something you heard? If not, if you're listening, it's okay.
At the moment, I'm just tuning into how the conversation's going, but nice to meet Benji.
Perfect. Nice to see you too. King, do you want to say something?
Alright, so good.
Roland, you want to talk to what they were saying or to the title?
Yeah, I'll talk to what they're saying. I mean, I know what Ethan's talking about in terms of brains not necessarily giving explanation for like the entirety of what we understand as consciousness. Like we can see different brain activity when a conscious person is thinking and doing things, but we don't have like an explanation holistically for consciousness as of yet. I do think, though, that the types of things we see in terms of when people have accidents and so forth and who they are fundamentally changes as a result of their brain changing, to me, it is somewhat indicative of the fact that the brain, in some capacity, is responsible for that. Now, in terms of whether or not there's a soul, that's ensouled in the material that we consider the brain, I don't think that we have any evidence to suggest that, and the NDEs that I've read, of which I've read many, are woefully lacking in either trolls or evidence, quite frankly. So I'd be highly skeptical. I'm driving right now. I can't read if he posts an article about an NDE, but I've yet to find any that were even minorly convincing in any kind of significant way. So I'd be interested to see what it said, but as of right now, I don't really have any reason to think that there's some kind of like ensoulment within the brain, and then that's operating the physical body, and that is in some way limited by that body, in terms of injury or things like that. But I do know what Ethan's saying. I don't necessarily agree with it, though.
Do you want to respond to him before we move on to the next person?
Yeah, I mean, first is basically it's a review of tens of thousands of near-death experiences. So there's like a quantitative analysis of this data set where there's this basically near-death experience research foundation. And then there's also case studies of some of the most convincing, well-documented cases. And I mean, to say that you don't find it at all convincing or credible just indicates to me that you're not intellectually honest in the inquiry. You just start with presuppositions and you're not receptive to the evidence. Well, what I'm trying to convince people of is that, and this is what happens in psychology research all of the time, which is when you're trying to say, hey, this process is implemented by this substrate specifically, the way you could falsify that claim is if you could have the process happening and credible evidence that the process had happened, even though that substrate was either damaged, impaired, or at least passive at the time that process was supported. And so that's called like a dissociation study. And so what NDEs, basically if you accept this overwhelming evidence, they establish a dissociation between consciousness and brain activity of this data set.
Roland, you want to say something to that before I move on to David?
Oh, again, I can't read it right now, but I'm just saying this.
Go ahead, honey. You got it, bro.
Yeah, so I don't necessarily think that the brain is all that's responsible for consciousness. I think the nervous system has to do with it. Maybe some other sense perception that humans are capable of. And also, were you just talking about this just as an extra feature? How does this get you to a god?
The guy's objection to God was he said immaterial minds are impossible. I said I think I have a soul. He then asked me, can you think of anything conscious that doesn't have a brain? So then I was just establishing that you can dissociate consciousness from brain activity.
Do you think that other life forms possess consciousness besides animals?
And so Well, I mean, I'm not exactly. I mean, if you consider God a life form, I don't know if you consider.
No, excluding God.
Like, if you're talking about biological organisms like plants,
Yeah.
I would say I don't know, but I can't rule it out because obviously it's the nature of consciousness that it's private. It's not accessible just through like third-person observation.
Yeah. Okay. Well, whatever. So, are you just saying that you don't know whether or not things other than animals are conscious?
Well, no, I know there are things that are conscious that aren't
Such as
animals,
what?
such as God.
Well, no. Aside from that, because you can't define what that is anyway.
No, I did define what that was earlier.
You defined what God was?
Yeah.
Oh, can you define it again real quick?
Yeah. God is fundamental reality, which is to say that he is the universal existence, as opposed to any particular thing, which exemplifies that universal of existence. He exemplifies these attributes of immutability, eternality, omniscience, omnipotence. What'd you say?
Is it a male? Is that what you said? Because I thought you said he.
Yeah, I'm personifying God with gender pronouns. It's just
what was
easier.
The first line you said? The very first thing you said?
He's fundamental reality or ultimate reality.
Fundamental reality.
And I define that as there's the universal existence as distinct from any particular, which exemplifies existence. So just like you have redness, which is the universal, which is exemplified by all particular things that are red, the same is true of existence itself. That there's a universal existence. Everything that exists exemplifies that universal and derives its existence from it. And so the classical theistic conception of God is that he is not a lowercase b being, but he is capital B being itself.
That's interesting. So it's just kind of your own proprietary understanding of what a God is, huh?
No, that's the classical theistic understanding. All the Christian church
maybe
fathers
that's why
accepted
the
it.
classical theistic understanding that makes no sense.
Well, you just said that it was idiosyncratic to me, and then it turned out that you were completely ignorant of everything.
Well, I wasn't sure. It just seemed like a lot of words to explain a lot of nothing.
Well, you just weren't paying attention, or you're not particularly bright.
I'm paying particular attention, especially to your intonation when you're smirking and smiling too.
Yeah. You know, right? If I ask you.
Perfect. I was just about to get to you, David. I was just about to let them pause real quick there. Y'all more than welcome to talk. Dodge, I got you, bro. I'm just giving a chance for everybody that haven't spoke to speak. David, if you want to speak to what they're talking about or to the title, you're more than welcome.
Yeah, sure. I mean, I like Ethan's explanation. I think when you look at a red balloon, that red balloon in itself is not redness. It exemplifies. It is an instance of redness, but redness itself is a global, like it's a how would you call it, like a universal thing that is not encompassed by any one particular thing, but particular things can exemplify it. So like just like one dog is not all dogs, but the class of all dogs is something that's universal. So basically anything that could be a set, like X is a member of this, any of those things that are this is part of the universal. And I think that that when you go back and then when you extrapolate it one more time and say anything that exists is a member of something that comes from God.
Perfect. I appreciate you for that. Sid, do you want to say something?
Yeah, no, thank you very much. Benji, congratulations. You're hosting the room. You're doing a good job. You always usually guest, but you're running the show. But I wish you would, get the JCC and Honey Badger a little control. They're out of control. But anyway, they're just constantly, they're constantly barraging and the fine man Ethan for speaking his mind. It's ridiculous. Like instead of stating the topic, they go off.
Can you just steal man Ethan really quick?
Yeah. All right. Wait. So
can you steal man Ethan?
Yeah. Wait a minute.
No,
so
you can't. Okay.
Well, listen. So. I
didn't think you could. That's why I was.
This is what I'm talking about. Totally out of control. Totally out of control. You can't control yourself. You don't let the man finish. This is not how you should.
Are you going to get to the point?
Yes, I will get to the point. So what is God? So what is God? Fundamentally, God. The best description of what God is written in Exodus 3:14. I think in the Hebrew it would say Ahe Ishe Ahe. Basically, I am who I am. It's all encompassing, it's everything and nothing, right? God is infinite, eternal, uncreated, creator of all existence. I would say one who's indivisible, without limit, without substance. And with whose substance the universe at every moment. So it's like basically the question is itself kind of unanswerable because it's both. It's too infinite to describe. So I would say that would be the definition of God. I mean, not so much definition, but what is God? Creator of all things, and not even creator of itself. So yeah, that's basically what I wanted to say. Thank you very much, Benji. Keep doing a good job.
Written
in Exodus 3:14.
I was just did Sin ever get to a point? I didn't really hear anything that was.
I answered the title, my friend. That's all I did.
I had Exodus 3:14 open. I wanted to read it to you guys if you don't mind.
I have Exodus 3:14.
Yeah, it's not what you said. Exodus 3:14.
Yeah, that's where it speaks about it in Exodus. The best description of God.
Of God.
You're more than welcome to roast him. I just want to finish up just to give everybody.
Yeah. No, I get it. But I think that's can't control himself.
I got you, Sin. I got you. Y'all more than welcome to do what y'all feel. Bert, I see some people just coming off mic being very patient, so just want to give them a chance. Bert, go ahead, bro. Carmela, I got you right after him.
Well, first of all, I want to say that Exodus is also a very good song by Bob Marley. You said that God doesn't have a creator. Was it Sin talking?
Yeah, absolutely.
So God doesn't have a creator. Wouldn't that make him an atheist?
Yes.
I mean, if you want to be dumb and say that, yeah, sure, why not?
Hey, why you gotta be dumb?
I'm just saying, it would be a dumb thing to say, but you can say that.
How?
To compare God with a simple-minded person like JCC and Ronald, and that would be kind of weird.
How is it weird? I mean, can you admit by that?
Is there just a quick question? Is there a reason somebody just called me simple-minded? Like, I didn't say anything insulting to you, motherfucker. Why'd you just call me simple-minded?
There you are. There you go. You did it right there. You did it. I'm just waiting to figure
After you called me simple-minded. It's just weird. Like, you're getting off mic to espouse, like, how do you want everybody to treat each other nicely? And so I didn't treat anybody with any kind of pejorative way. And you immediately call me simple-minded. See, quite frankly,
I apologize.
No, stand to it. That's fine. Stand to it.
No, I do apologize. I didn't know that you
it's fine. I appreciate that. Look,
I don't mean to.
My point is that if you're going to try and act self-righteous, right, maintain the illusion. Once you start insulting people and then claiming self-righteousness, right, especially people who haven't interacted with you yet, it just comes off like a little bit cunty,
Yeah, I apologize for that. I didn't mean to hurt your feelings.
No, I'm not hurt. I just think hypocrisy
you can let it
should
out.
be called out when somebody's acting hypocritical, right, and trying to give this illusion of them being magnanimous and being kind to the people around them, and then simultaneously acting childish in the way that you are. I think that hypocrisy should be called out. So I just wanted to say I appreciate you for doing that for Cinema, because I think it really puts a stick in the ass of the argument you're trying to make there, right?
I just asked a simple question, and I got called a dumbass.
No, I didn't use the word dumbass. I think I called you. Yeah, I probably did say that.
Hi, excuse me, Dr. Benji, this is Doge Manga. Please put me in the queue, thank you.
Just to delve a little deeper, right? Now I do feel like I feel more validated in the meanness I'm about to levy upon you. Your explanation for what God was just like woefully lacking and just really dumb. So I am what I am. God is everything.
Don't be cruel.
You also said he may have created himself, which I also don't understand.
Don't be cruel. Don't be cruel, Roland. Don't be cruel.
You said maybe he created himself as well. So I think that most religious people would not only disagree with you, but calling you an idiot based on the things that you said. So I mean, again, if you're going to levy these types of things against the people in the room, at least come prepared.
Okay.
All right, can you please put me in the queue, Dr. Benji? This is going nowhere quickly. Thank you very little.
It's okay.
I'm having a good time.
Sooner or later, the game.
Assalamu alaikum, everybody.
Oh yeah. Sooner or later, I will mute up and the game will begin. I will be able to do what you do. Kamal, what do you want to say, bro? Okay. Oh, are you there? Just speeding it up a little bit.
Is
Oh,
it
are you there? Do you want to say something else?
Is it
I
named
got you, bro.
caramel or caramel?
Caramel, I'm sorry. Caramel, do you want to say
No, it
something?
could be caramel. I don't know.
Caramel, do you want to say something?
His face is
I do.
I got you, PNW. Give me a second. Oh, I think he's not there. He's just chilling. Lena, do you want to say something?
I'm good.
Caleb, do you want to say something?
Caleb.
Yeah, I'm bugging.
Shalom, Caleb.
You can read, Benji. I know you
No, I can't. I'm reading with my fingers right now. Caleb, do you want to say
Caramel's here.
Okay.
Take it away, Caramel.
Yeah, I want to debate, honey. My real name is Sheikh Ramat Al-Bukhari Khan. How are you, honey?
Okay. PNW, you have the floor.
Well, when he was talking about, when I just heard right now, when the dude said, well, the God being an atheist conversation, I don't know, like, why do we think, or why do we see God as like a person or a human or something like that? Not a human, you know what I mean, but like a person to where it can be an atheist. I think it's bigger or deeper than that. I don't even think we can comprehend what God is.
That's true, man. I don't think we can comprehend it.
That's definitely, you made my point right there, brother. It's like, that's why I called him a dumbass.
How can you not comprehend God when it's one word? It's spelled G-O-D. Do you not comprehend the word? It's a very simple 3-letter word. Is it that complicated to truly understand one word?
All right, so what is God then? What is God and who is God? If you can comprehend that, what is it?
God in Yiddish, they say Allah Shes God. All is God, which is like saying God the Father or the All Father, the Father God, the Godfather.
Yeah, these other guys said, right, Doge? These other guys.
It's the Godfather. What do you think it is? It's the universe. Duh.
Right, Doge? These other.
I don't understand why that would ever be a sentence that would be uttered, though, that God is an atheist. Because, like, if God was, knew that he was God.
That's true, man.
I.e., he had knowledge of all things. He'd know that he was God. How would he be an atheist? How do you understand that sentence?
Well, I mean, technically, aren't we all atheists? Because, I mean, except you guys just believe in one, you guys lack belief in one less God than I do. So, like, you believe in one God out of the, 3,000?
Well, don't you believe in zero gods too, Bert?
Zero gods?
Yeah.
No, I don't believe in
Oh, you believe in a God?
No.
Right, so you believe in just as many gods as I do.
Right. No, well, I don't mean you necessarily. I'm talking about, like,
yeah, the God believer believes in one God as opposed to the thousands that they could believe in.
Exactly. So that would make them atheists also, because they don't believe in other gods.
Just that the scenario.
In a way.
Bert, please don't utter that again. Once anybody believes in any God, therefore they are no longer an atheist. So that cliche, you're just an atheist like me. You just believe in one God.
But why can't you believe in the universe as being God?
I'm still. Thank you for interrupting me. That's so kind of you.
You're welcome. Thank you very little. Welcome back to a show about nothing.
Yes, come back to a show about nothing, yes.
Well, the God of the Bible, we know that God isn't an atheist because he said, don't put any other gods before me. So he's acknowledging there are other gods.
You guys can fact check me, but from what I understand about the origin of the word atheist, it originally meant having researched all existing faiths on Earth and found none of them credible. That's not what it translates. I mean, that's not the modern definition. It doesn't.
Well, just think about it, Violet. How possible that would be. Do you think anybody has research on?
Well, some people consider Kellogg's cereal breakfast food. Some people think Diet Coke is like a drink.
That's just a little fact that I learned about the word origin years ago, but I could be wrong. I'm not trained.
Actually, you're not wrong. I mean, it's almost like how would I say? how would I put it in a nice way without insulting our fellow brothers atheists over here?
God is
It had nothing to do with not believing in God. It was something that it was a religious that they were fighting, the early believers of atheism. No one in their right mind would question the existence of something bigger than themselves.
You do realize if you're an atheist, you have to have something to replace it in conversation. You can't just continually talking about atheism because that's literally talking about nothing, right? Therefore, you're mentally ill. You're retarded.
Modern definition, it doesn't. I don't understand that point right there. Can you go deeper into the?
Yeah, imagine watching Seinfeld for 100,000 years and then realizing it's a show about nothing. And the ironic thing is God actually is the no thing. So that's the thing why a lot of you people are stupid and you're here trying to learn some shit. But you're really not trying to learn. You're trying to dope up, create dopamine.
I have to be honest with you. I'm not here to learn anything. I'm more here for entertainment. I do have a dinner date. And I'm just waiting to get to that dinner date. So thank you for the entertainment.
Or you're just here for it? Are you
Cinema.
I'm getting the entertainment.
Cinema. What's the young man's name? Is he a good kisser that you're going out with on the date tonight?
Don't be jealous.
Yeah, don't end up on YouTube in some kind of sting operation.
Yo, I still stand by the whole, everybody's an atheist, because being an atheist means what? Lacking a belief lack of belief in God or gods, right? So it's not just limited to one God.
Yeah, but our minds we were not made to comprehend or even understand.
Hang on, let me talk to Bert. Bert.
Yes.
So once someone believes in a God, they're no longer an atheist.
But what if they lack belief in other gods?
That doesn't fucking matter. They believe in God, dude. Hang on. They believe in a God, therefore they are no longer an atheist. They are now a theist. How is that so hard to fucking understand?
No, I get what he's saying.
Bert, don't get wrong as hell.
GCC, finish eating your oatmeal. Please. Stop eating oatmeal on mic.
Please, not repeat that as an argument, right? It's not a good argument.
Sorry, hey, Bert, I'll repeat it for you, but I'm going to do it again. Sorry, you can't understand me.
What?
No, it makes sense what he's talking about. You just got to understand what he's saying.
What up, Bun Man? What do you got to say, Bun Man?
No, that you said that for him to not repeat it.
Yeah, not a good argument.
Aggressive statements against so-called state of Israel. You know that the parliament is...
Wait, I thought this was a refuge from low IQ. Why is Prince speaking?
Yeah, we have to... So they condemned it. The British, you have to understand, the British are not American. The British
itself, they don't give a shit if it's labor or it's the other party. And they view it as an attack of the parliamentary institution and as an attack of the how do you want to frame this? Basically, humiliation, a national humiliation to the country.
Okay. First of all, they will get over it. I don't think it's a national humiliation because we accept other MPs. It was very specific MPs that I don't know how much the British public sees them as representing the kingdom. Also, just to tell you that the UK has banned people, MPs from other countries before, including European countries. Not once, not twice, not 3 times. And any country has full right to decide who enters and who does not, who that's orders.
You kill a minister from a back in the 40s.
What? We're not talking about this. We're talking about now denying entry for parliamentarians. No, you're not. You're ending the conversation. And again, this type of conversation, again, please try, Prince, if you can handle like a mature, intelligent conversation, please. If you're gonna derail the conversation, amazing. So instead of saying it, okay, listen. You will have like 2 warnings. This is the first one. The second one, you're out. Okay, I don't really have a lot.
It's refuge, not refuse, Prince. Learn a little English.
No, No, so no, I will not trigger him, but please try, and let's move on. So let's move on. I don't really care for those type of conversations. Try to.
Did Netanyahu and Trump speak about the tariff at all? Like Trump's wars being announced over there?
Yes. Basically, this is what Netanyahu wanted. Obviously, this is not why Trump invited him so fast. Trump invited him so fast because of the meeting that he has with Iran on Saturday. He wanted to discuss with Netanyahu beforehand. Regarding tariffs, Netanyahu said that they will make immediate, that we will make immediate, changes to all kind of regulations, yada, 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 and that then other countries will be following suit, and they understand what the Americans want, yada, yada, and then he hopes that or believes whatever that the tariffs will be dropped. But as of an outcome from this meeting, no, the Zoom was on. I couldn't even see his face. They did instead of seeing them both, they did kind of like a Zoom on. At least the way I was watching. Maybe there's another video of something of a wide shot because our camera is kind of zoomed in on Netanyahu, so I couldn't see the reaction.
No, because this could be very indicative of what's going to be with the rest of the market because the math was off. And they overtaxed Israel, overtaxed the EU, they overtaxed Israel, they overtaxed South Korea. There's probably many other countries. So depending on how Trump responds to this, could be very indicative of where these tariffs are going and stabilize the market. So I was hoping to hear.
I think that it will happen, but I think that also Trump wants to show that it's not that easy necessarily. So it won't be Israel, because everybody's looking now at Israel because she's the first one that came to kind of negotiate face to face about the tariffs, and the world is okay, what is the outcome? And I don't think that they want to kind of broadcast the idea that Israel comes and immediately reduced, and it needed to show something, something that others will also do.
Yes, but you also want to show behavior. So Netanyahu, who is a right libertarian capitalist, and he already dropped a bunch of import tax on Israel when he was back in the 90s. I think when he was Sarah outside. So
it's in the 80s because he said don't pay any other government.
Trump, but there's also the thing that say if you capitulate, I'll give you what you want. You need the carrot and the stick. So the carrot makes sense to him.
So we'll see. But at the end, the outcome of this meeting, that there is no change right now. Maybe this is what Bibi hoped to kind of deliver at the end, but this is not what he got. We'll have to jump through a few hoops in order to get this done. And to be honest, I would have been surprised, and I think it would have been a bad move for Trump if he had kind of reduced it immediately. Great for Israel, but I think
I think
maybe so.
Not for Israel. Let's forget about Israel. Obviously we have emotional ties to Israel. Forget about it. If he would tell the world, all I'm looking for is reciprocal. You drop your tariffs, I'll drop mine. It'll stabilize the market. It'll give the American, it'll get more support behind it. I think it would have been a good political strategy.
But I don't think with Israel it's just tariffs. I think there were other issues like regulations and we have this thing that if you bring a product that was certified in Europe, that it's good enough for Israel, for example. But if you bring it from other place, it needs to go through checks, from fire as a children safety, yada yada yada. So, for example, this makes things coming from not the European Union more expensive. So, for example, saying that whatever regulation the United States has, would it be acceptable for Israel, might be a way to reduce prices or whatever. I don't know the full details. I don't think it was just tariffs that we put on America. And funny how Prince left when he saw that we really tried to make an intelligent conversation.
Before he left, he was screaming out, "I'm not gay, I'm not gay."
This is what I do sometimes.
Well, the big news is the market turned around today. I mean, it closed. The Nasdaq was up. I mean, the sky didn't fall. There was no collapse. One day correction.
Up compared to yesterday, you mean?
Yeah, what I'm saying is it's not cascading. That the circuit breakers aren't popping. That the sky isn't falling. That the media would want you to believe and feel it in your in your soul.
So I have two things to say to that, John. One thing is that you're right. It went down for one day. It could be the market always reacts and always panics and blah blah blah.
Prices,
whatever. I wouldn't be surprised if it goes back down tomorrow
there's probably a lot of speculators who are buying, thinking that the market overreacted, and then we'll see what happens tomorrow. So the basic theme is these one-day moves don't make too much out of it.
Yeah, in stock market you can also look at such
Well,
a small time frame.
The March 2020 collapse was cataclysmic. I mean, for a whole week straight, people watched their entire portfolios go down 30, 40%. And it was, it just didn't
Well, the
end.
March 2020 collapse.
It was tied to COVID. Yeah, I know.
Problem.
Yeah, they shut the economy down.
It shut the entire economy down. It wasn't like prices went up and going to get a 10, 20, even 30% correction. That was like, it should have gone down to zero. Not zero was exaggeration, but it should have gone down to.
Well, there should have been bankruptcies through the roof. I mean, and those didn't even materialize.
But the government stepped in to the tune of trillions and saved the economy. That I don't.
Yeah, but now we're 40 trillion in debt. I mean, the first act was called Heroes Act for 1.2 trillion. Then another act for $1 trillion. So it's like we're wasting money. That's the facts, and it was all based on lies, deception. I mean, COVID-19 and the vaccines have been proven, I think, beyond a reasonable doubt that it was a giant groupthink runaway train.
Well, when you say COVID-19, I think you mean lockdowns. The COVID-19 is very, very real. The lockdowns helping is pretty obvious at this point.
No, I mean, it's real, but I mean, the devastation that it was, the actual look at Sweden. I mean, they didn't even lock down.
Yeah, the 2% death toll was overstated. That's true. But at the time, that at least made sense. The lockdowns never made sense because it was never a proven science that lockdowns help.
Anyways, I just like the belief that there's not a speck of dust out of place in the whole universe. I mean, we voted Trump because he's mercurial, and we need mercurial multivariable solutions at the top, and he's giving us that. I've heard El Normo say he puts out a tough bargain, in order to get the best deal. I mean, he goes, he's very polarized in his decision making, but this is how we affect, change. But the problem is the media is so powerful in terms of dictating feelings and narrative and herd consciousness. It's unbelievable just how fake it really is. When you look at it, you're like, holy shit, like this whole thing is just created to manipulate my feelings, my emotions, what I think about someone, and etc. It's truly unbelievable how powerful communication is, in terms of mass distribution and algorithmic, placement.
Yeah. I don't know about that.
That was either too high IQ for me or back to low IQ. I couldn't figure it out.
No, I mean, it's true. I mean, just go to CNN.com. I mean, any day of the week, just question what you're looking at, and you're like, holy shit, like this is just an opinion piece. This is just editorial. It's not.
I didn't deny its truthfulness. I just said I can't follow it.
Well, there was a time, and it wasn't that long ago. I was in journalism school in the 90s when we believed that it was possible to try to get as close as possible to the quote-unquote truth or to facts or to reality, and to try to be at least fair in considering both sides of a argument or a story. I would say Roger Ailes might have been the genius or the villain who changed that by, number one, recognizing that most news coverage is done by people who are liberal in their orientation. So most people, for example, believed in the right to an abortion, and most people believed that there should be some limitations on the Second Amendment, and on and on. So most people believed in social safety nets, and he challenged that assumption with enormous success. That's Roger Ailes, who created Fox News, he created another perspective. It was wildly successful. It was sort of what Nixon. I mean, it's the same thing as remember he advised Nixon as well, by the way, famously. It was what Nixon called a silent majority. As a result, though, the news has become
become increasingly polarized. Then we had the digital revolution, in which now the news isn't polarized. Now it's disintermediated, meaning everybody with a phone in their hand is basically a journalist, meaning they can present their perspective on reality and on facts, whether it's the COVID virus or tariffs or Israel or or the stock market or science or abortion. Um, as I think I mentioned to you, Mayor, many times, using the model of Nicholas Nassim Taleb, fragility, our institutions of understanding the world and making meaning, they're fragile. And they've become corrupted by various competing interests. So we're no longer just stating the scientific fact. We're stating the scientific fact as it conforms to a political agenda. And we're no longer trying to render the law, say, fairly. We are rendering the law in order to repair previous racism, say, or previous sexism. What do you think of what I'm saying so far? Before, I don't want to make it too long a lecture here.
Marco Rubio just got DEI out of the State Department. I mean, you were rewarded bonus points as an employee if you refrained from using certain words and if you promoted certain ideologies. That's brain control, that's mind control, that's cultural programming, to redistribute globally. It's thank God that is over.
Would you consider yourself, well, for now, would you consider yourself a conservative before all this stuff?
Definitely fiscal conservative and libertarian, meaning that, like, just to open a pizza restaurant or open up a fruit stand. I mean, the government is it's controlling everything. And the greatest right that a government can afford its citizenship is the right to be left alone. I mean, that's Larry Flint from Hustler. That's his famous quote.
Okay, so that's sort of a libertarian perspective. I was coming from a more liberal perspective, and yet, for perhaps mysterious reasons, Mayor, who comes from a more conservative perspective, and I were somehow at least able to agree on a conversation and to argue or discuss fairly. But even that has changed. Even what's considered fair has changed.
Americans agree on a lot more than the politicians want us to think. Like, they pit us against each other in a way. Like, we agree on the abortion issue a lot more than they would like to admit. We agree on gun control. Like, even the NRA carrying members want there not to be a gun show exemption and want to have restrictions on criminals. And most of the people that are coming out like anti-gun, except Hollywood, do not want guns being taken away from every American. Like, we agree a lot more than they're trying to admit.
Good point. That's how Donald Trump got elected, with the majority of the popular vote. I mean, people were like, this crazy stuff has gone too far.
But now it's getting interesting because the tariffs, the way they're talking about the tariffs are very delusional. Like, he's touting like it's not a big deal if your prices go up, and it's very reminiscent of Biden saying you save 22 cents on your Thanksgiving turkey.
It's more than that. You have to realize that X is literally the spigot that gave us the truth about a variety of topics that were being withheld from the herd.
And want to have a criminal.
You just can't underestimate how big the acquisition of X and Elon Musk really was in terms of the herd psychology of the voters. That was the biggest break in opening up the eyes to fake news and government control. I mean, the CIA, NSA, etc., were all working hand in foot with the White House for censorship. So the population just got sick of the censorship, and they became aware of it because those Twitter files with Matt Taibbi and Kennedy as well, creating his own campaign and being, taken off of Meta, taken off of this, and then suing, and then Tulsi Gabbard suing. Like, this is the administration, really worked their way into this win. It's not just like people were sick of DEI and trans and gay rights and shit. It was much more, much more information than just that.
I mean, once we've got a man in woman's clothes, as what was this person? An admiral?
Yeah,
or something?
Rear Admiral Levine.
Rachel Levine. Oh no, you're talking about the admiral. Also as on HHS.
I'm talking about Rachel Levine.
Wasn't she HHS?
Yes, but I thought she was an admiral.
Oh, that's possible. I thought when you said admiral, I was thinking of like current position in army. That's possible. I don't remember.
It's a health secretary. It's like a title, meaning of the general of the health. But yeah, the fact that Biden put that man, that woman in, I mean, that is just what the hell? Like, how did that person even get there? Must have knew the right people.
Well, I understand they were very good at what they did. Unfortunately, they became like a symbol of transgenderism and particularly of advocacy for medical intervention in children.
Yeah, that's I don't know.
It's
crazy. Like, I looked at a brochure from, I don't know, John Hopkins University or something on their transgender surgery, program. It's like, this isn't medicine or health. This is just mutilation. It's insane how you can rebrand mutilation as being cutting edge medicine. It's insane. It's totally insane.
Well, it wouldn't be the first time.
Yeah, I mean, the medical industrial complex does crazy things. This was just one more category of business. The hormone blockers and the transgender surgeries was another way to make $1 billion a month or more.
I mean, I am not convinced that this was done with malintent, which leaves the only, it's always the question, stupid or bad? That's always the question, right? Are they being stupid or are they bad?
What, for the transgender surgery shit?
For anything. Well, like when somebody does something really ridiculous, like, remember abolish the police at the same time as and let all these people out of prison? That sounds pretty stupid, right? Are they being stupid or are they being bad? Do they want to make crime go up? Or do they really believe that people are unfairly imprisoned and that the cops are no good, so we want to eliminate cops and let the criminals out of jail?
No, it's just cyclical. It's just a calendar-based programming, meaning that every 3 months they just keep regurgitating and recycling the same talking points. It's just a communication, campaign. That's all of it. And it just repeats itself year after year. Every month, it's back again. Here we go again. More of this. More. It's just never going to end.
Yeah, I can't wait till we finally get RoboCop out into the streets and solve that problem.
Bad language makes for bad feelings. I met Peter, the guy who played RoboCop, at the gym. Peter, what's his last name? Peter, is it Sellers? I can't remember his last name. But he told me he was he's a history professor, Anyways, he's a very nice guy. I told him my dad was a cop and he used to quote you. He couldn't stop laughing. He's like, what was your dad's favorite RoboCop quote? I said, bad language makes for bad feelings.
I don't even remember that part, but I remember finding it funny. I remember be kind of corny. I remember it being at a time when Detroit was like a symbol of failure, essentially.
Yeah, I mean, it points out some interesting things about our current society, but the violence. I don't know. Has it always been this way? I mean, you look at the death tables and you're like, I don't know. More people were murdered in the '80s than they were in the 2020. So it's like, is our society gotten more violent or less violent? I mean, I think it's like insanely violent. I mean, every weekend, 100 people are murdered in Chicago by guns.
Well, you have a special problem there, right?
How special is it though? Like, what does it take to get a governor to deploy the National Guard to prevent 100 people every weekend being shot down? Like, when does it become a national emergency domestically? I just don't understand how we live like this. It's insane. I mean, you can go to Baghdad, Kabul, go to any former war zone. There's no murder anymore, but we have mass murders in our cities. It's insane every weekend. It's just I don't understand. Like, I mean, I know it's the black market on guns, and these gangbangers that are doing it, and it's all over social media beefs and hip hop artists and drill music. It is the craziest, sickest culture you could ever possibly imagine. It's like the wild, wild west of ghettos.
I think you're lumping a lot of things together, but it's not all wrong. It seems to be that the art coming out of the culture is perpetuating the negative aspects of the culture. It's sort of, maybe you're suggesting that?
Yeah, I mean their communication publicly and internally it's not Shakespeare. It's the sickest linguistic shit they can piece together. I mean it's a failed society. It's a failed culture. It is like killing
Some
itself.
hip hop is genius.
Yeah, stuff. No doubt. But I'm just saying, if you listen to the stuff today, the drill music today, it's unlistenable because it's literally psychotic rambling. It is murder music. It's not Biggie talking about feeding his baby outside his building and the police keep fucking with him. It's hardcore murder music.
I can't say I really listened to it, so I'm not. I mean, familiar with Tupac and Dr. Dre.
There's a large deviation since like those days. So as he got in, he still had like mainstream hip hop that was still largely street, gangster themed. But then it gradually got worse as he got into the 2010s. That's when he started getting drill music, and if you don't know what that is, that's when like real gang members, especially in places like Chicago, where hot offs, but they would be rapping, they would be flashing their guns, their drugs, their money, calling out the other real gangs and gang members that they had already killed, who they're going to kill, and it would kind of play out in real life because this, somebody who made it big on the drill rap scene would be famous, and then all of a sudden he was dead. And then, then people would start watching the rappers that killed him, and then they'd end up dead. It's just a perpetual cycle, and it almost kind of made it even more so that you had to have quote unquote street cred, like be a gang member, to be taken seriously as a rapper, because once again, what did they rap about? The street life. And if you're not from the streets, you're not going to get nobody's going to want to listen to you. It's really, and it's not real gang members, especially in places. It's pure fucking garbage. At least the hip hop artists from these, and even the 2000s, a lot of them did have a musical background. These kids have nothing. It's pure fucking gutter music.
Yeah, it's murder hypnosis is what it is, El Normo. And that's why it's cyclical. And you have one gang member get murdered, the other one rises, that one gets murdered, somebody else takes its place. It's the sickest culture. I mean, there should be censorship for promoting murder, death, mayhem. I mean, it's propaganda. I mean, look what happened in Palestine, in Gaza, with their Shahada videos, and look what they did. What do they do in Chicago when all they do is listen to murder music all day long? Well, on a Friday, Saturday night, they try to set up a murder. I mean, it's endemic. It's a pandemic. It's a mind virus.
I'll tell you what. There's like a very short documentary, maybe like 15 minutes, but it's about a group of rappers from Tallahassee. There's one of them. He had just made a rap video maybe a couple years ago, listing about 30 people that he's been involved with killing, and he just got smoked himself. But basically, it just goes through the list of all of these rap, just the timeline of them killing each other's families. And these were just basically fucking kids at the end of the day. And when it comes to rap music, a lot of people don't know this. I mean, when it comes to like music, I have some background in that, but more on the production side. But almost all of those rappers, they don't make their own beats. They don't make anything. They buy it for pretty cheap. Even like $15, and then they just rap over it, and that's that. And they have a studio engineer or the fuck do you call it? Generally, it's a studio engineer that will end up mastering.
An engineer, a music engineer.
Yeah, so they'll master it to make sure things come out balanced. Yeah, so they can be streamed on different platforms and sound okay. But yeah, that's all there is to it. It doesn't take any real musical ability.
I've worked with many sound engineers, really good ones.
Are you talking about like in the days of analog studios? Like where they had the physical equipment?
He was El Normo was best friends with Phil Spector. I don't know if you know that.
No, that's not really true. But Pro Tools, essentially.
Yeah, Pro Tools is still essentially the most commonly used by studios today.
Yeah. Well, I'm acquainted with the guy who invented it.
Oh, yeah, so they'll master it to
make very well.
The guy who caused the downfall of studios.
Oh, he did.
Yeah, that's all there is to it. It doesn't take any real musical ability. Oh no! So there's a reason why quality music hasn't been put out. At least what I would call quality music in the last few years, or last 10, 15 years. Well, in the 90s, when Pro Tools, then you end up having Ableton, Logic Pro, FL Studio, all of these digital access workstations, and they.
I didn't use it. I didn't do the sound mix myself.
No, I'm not saying you did, but
I would edit in Avid. So I don't know what. I mean, it was a Pro Tools session in Sony Music Studios. Fancy, audio editing room.
Yeah, but when you have those studios, stations, it got rid of the need for a lot of the actual studios. Because people can start doing it at home, and then basically record labels can do it in-house. It's like when it comes to just something like reverb, microphone placement for instruments. I mean, that was an art in and of itself. But once it became all digital, these experts, except for really when it came to mastering. And
you need somebody with an ear and obviously technical mastery